From Dr. Peter Abbas, DDS Inc., we are going to talk about restorative dentistry with the man himself, Dr. Abbas. Thank you for joining us today.
Nice to be here again, yeah.
So restorative dentistry, give me that, it's kind of a general term for a lot of stuff, right? So what is restorative dentistry in general?
In general, restorative dentistry is basically a way to fix teeth, whether they're damaged from cavities or cracks or chips or lost completely. Basically, it's the practice of fixing those teeth and restoring them back to their original form and function.
Right, so, I mean, we're talking when we have a filling, hey, we have some cavity here, we need to replace a filling, that's basically that's our baseline for restorative dentistry, right?
It is, and it's kind of, there's no, a lot of people think of things as like, filling, crown, there is kind of this gray zone in between. So a lot of people out there, I'm sure, have had fillings, a lot of people out there have had crowns. There's also things called onlays, which a lot of people don't know about. I do quite a bit of those. So if fillings were on one end of the spectrum and a crown was in the other, teeth fall into a gray zone oftentimes where there's a problem with a tooth, for example. It's too difficult to fix with a filling, but maybe a crown is too aggressive. So these partial coverage restorations, also known as onlays, really do a great job. So in situations like that, where we just take out the bad parts of the tooth, keep as much of the good tooth as possible, and create a little puzzle piece, looks like a little 3D puzzle piece, fits precisely into that space, and is able to fix the tooth up in full strength and function. So
now, in the old days, that would maybe be somebody have a specialist would be doing those filings. Or are you doing more of those things with AI and you're doing 3D printing with those kinds of things today?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate in that I've been using great technology in my office that allows me to make partial crowns, onlays, full crowns, veneers, bridges, using the technology in my office, same day in my office. So I've been using it for 20 years. And technology is wonderful. It uses an intraoral scanner to actually scan someone's mouth and teeth so that they can have the restoration made all in one day. So again, I've been doing that for 20 years. Great technology, avoids that second appointment, avoids us having to deal with a temporary restoration, avoids having to have that impression, that putty stuff that goes into your mouth that no one likes. So we don't have to deal with any of that in my practice. We do it all with digital scanners. Really makes for a much easier visit, and not just that, but quite a bit more precision involved with it as well. It's much more precise, being that it's done digitally.
So gone are the days of put this temporary crown on, we'll come back in 2 weeks, hopefully that doesn't pop off in the meantime.
Exactly.
And then we'll see if it fits when we come back, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, no, I again, doing it all same day streamlines the process considerably, precision fit. I mean, most of the time I'm getting those crowns out of the machine and putting them in, maybe a little minor adjustment, but it's just, the fit is so impeccable compared to the old-fashioned way of doing things.
Right. And for folks who haven't maybe been to a dentist for a while, they've been avoiding those. Are some folks surprised at wow, I didn't, when last time I was at the dentist, that kind of thing?
I mean, even patients who have seen a dentist are saying that, patients who are new to my practice, because a lot of dentists are still doing the old-fashioned way. I've been doing it this way since 2006. Of 20 years, obviously the technology has evolved. I tell people it's kind of like an iPhone. Back when the first iPhone came out, it was cool and great, but it's come such a long way. Same thing with the technology that I use here to make these restorations in the office.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we talk about restorative, and then we kind of cross over to cosmetic, what is the difference in terms of, like, let's say a veneer in the front for a cracked tooth as opposed to I just want them to look better?
So there's different ways of fixing teeth cosmetically. Sometimes for some situations, we could put a little bonding material on there, which is basically like a filling material that we could put on there to fix and repair any chips or cracks, things like that. Sometimes for people who want a more durable, long-lasting, better-looking restoration, a veneer really works well. And I tell people a veneer, people sometimes get confused about these terms. A veneer basically is a thin shell of porcelain that's put on the front surface of the tooth to change the color and shape. You could think of it like a partial crown, but for your front tooth. So it doesn't cover the entire tooth like a crown would, just the front surface. And they do a really nice job. And it really helps in situations where someone may have maybe not the most ideal positioning of the teeth. We can actually do a little bit of, I don't want to say orthodontics, but we can do a little bit of correction of the teeth to make them look straight they may not be straight from the inside, but from the outside they appear to be straight. If it's a minor little little crowding, things like that, to try to idealize things with veneers. So it's really nice in that respect.
And can it get complicated sometimes when we're talking about billing and how that people with insurance, that kind of thing, between just restorative and then cosmetic kind of thing too? Because it's like, well, I'd like to fix this, but it's not really a necessity.
Yeah, sometimes it can be. I always welcome patients to come in for no charge consultation to my office so we could discuss what's going on with them specifically. My front office is always happy to do pre-authorizations with the insurance to find out exactly what kind of coverage there may be. Because sometimes someone may think it's fully cosmetic. Well, in actuality, there may be a chip or a crack, and we can actually get some sort of coverage for them. It may not be 100%, but we'll get something for them to try to maximize their benefits for sure. So,
as we age, as our audience here gets a little older, what are some of the more common things we see in teeth, just because of the fact that we're all getting older and most people are keeping their teeth? We don't have people with dentures as much as we used to.
Yeah. So the biggest, there's two real big things that I see in our 50 plus, 55 plus population. I tend to see more gum disease or periodontal disease. Basically, that means that the bone that supports the teeth is kind of shrinking away from the tooth itself.
Okay.
I tell people, think of your tooth like a tree. Think of your roots of a tree like the roots of your tooth, and the bone is kind of like the soil there. And imagine someone taking a shovel and digging around that tree and basically taking away that soil. That's what periodontal disease basically is. It's the loss of bone from around the tooth. So we tend to see that, and that's totally preventable. Someone coming in for routine cleanings really helps with that. Getting all those deposits from underneath the gum, and of course home care plays a big role. The second most common thing I see is cavities along the gum line. I've talked about this before in a previous show I was on, but cavities along the gum line is a lot more common because as we get older, we tend to be on some more medications, number one. And secondly, our saliva glands may not be working quite as well. So a little more dry mouth. And so we tend to develop cavities along the gum line a little bit more prevalently. And that's just another issue we tend to see.
And then that's where restorative dentistry comes in there.
Absolutely.
Now, when you do that, how well can you match? Because on the top of my tooth, I have a cavity, and you do the restorative dentistry. Maybe it's a little off color, but that's not such a big deal. But sometimes vanity, or I have a white spot here or a white spot there because of this. The restorative part went in the front of the tooth.
Yeah. So we have number of shades and things like that. Materials have gotten so much better over the years, where they create this chameleon effect. They disappear practically.
Really?
Yeah. So they look just like normal tooth structure once it's all done. Even some dentists would have a hard time looking in there saying, "Oh, where's the trying to outline where the filling is." They really do nicely to blend in really nicely.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So when people come in and are you in pain usually when you have a cracked tooth, or is it a point of it has to get to the nerve and kind of really in trouble?
I tell people most dental problems don't have any pain to begin with.
Okay.
I tell them it's kind of like high cholesterol. You don't feel high cholesterol. You don't know you have high cholesterol. Unless it's too late, right? That's when you start to feel it. That's when you start getting heart pain and chest pain, things like that. Same thing with dental problems, cavities, cracks. When they're starting in the early stages, they're completely asymptomatic. There's no symptoms at all. It's when they've progressed and gotten worse, that's when they get close to the nerve. That's when pain tends to set in. Oftentimes at that point, things have gotten to the point where we're talking about maybe doing a root canal or maybe even pulling the tooth at that stage. So that's why I encourage patients, please go to your dentist. Please go in regularly, because
I was going to say regular checks.
That's why we do regular checks. A lot of people end up saying, well, nothing's hurting me, nothing's bothering me. I don't need to go see a dentist. That's the furthest thing from the truth, because these problems are underlying and happening, can be easily treated early on, rather than waiting for the situation to get worse.
Do you see a lot of, with the new technology, everybody has the electric toothbrush, everybody has all these things. Can those kind of do damage if we're pressing too hard against, especially on the gum lines? I know that's one of those sensitive, most of you brush away from the gums I was taught as a kid, Yeah,
so most of the electric toothbrushes now have sensors built in so people can't brush too hard.
Oh, okay.
The other thing about the electric toothbrushes is most of them have soft bristles, which is really helpful. So I encourage people to use electric toothbrushes.
Oh,
okay. They work quite nicely. For people using manual toothbrushes, great as well. I personally use a manual. Making sure it's using a soft bristle brush, that's number one. The medium and firm bristles are too damaging to our gum line and to the root surface, especially as we get older, have a little bit of that periodontal disease, a little gum recession, it can create some damage. The other issue that I tend to see is people using a lot of those whitening toothpastes. Really abrasive, really aggressive toothpaste.
Okay.
People don't think much of it, but basically what they throw in the toothpaste is a fine sand that basically acts as almost like sandpaper on the gum line of our teeth and creates these kind of grooves or notches. A lot of people feel that with their fingernail, like what's this kind of this notch up at the gum line, down the gum line or up at the gum line that I feel. It's the abrasion from the toothpaste or toothbrush that's actually worn away the tooth structure.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so those can cause damage long term as well.
Cautionary tales right there. All right, folks. A little bit of prevention, a little bit of restorative. Thank you, Dr. Abbas, for coming in today.
It's
Appreciate it.
been my pleasure, yeah.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.